Where are Lakers in the Western Conference right now? Where are they in the West? Because if I just go off the top of my head and I say, all right, where are Lakers positioned in the Western Conference as we sit here today? Listen, I know we got a full offseason. I know that roster needs improving. I know Rob Pelinka has basically continued to promise that, hey, they're going to do what they need to do in the offseason. I hope he's not over promising, because people like me don't forget some of the stuff that he says. And he's got a history of over promising. I'll tell you that, at least when it came down to the trade deadline, not this trade deadline, previous trade deadlines last summer. But he delivered. He got, obviously he got the Lakers Luka, so we'll shut up about that. But let's kind of figure out how many teams are better than the Lakers right now as we sit here today in the Western Conference, because this is how many teams you're going to have to jump based on what you do in the offseason to get back in the mix. Okay. Let's make this very, very easy. Let's just go through the teams that are still left in this. Okay. OKC is better than the Lakers. They play in a 7-game set. OKC is better than the Lakers. You guys want to go back to the regular season and make a case that that's not the case because Lakers won in the regular season? Feel free to do so. I'm not going to do that. Denver is better than the Lakers. In a 7-game set, Denver, I think, would beat the Los Angeles Lakers. Minnesota, I don't want anyone making an argument against Minnesota. The Wolves beat the Lakers in 5 games. Before you got to sit back and enjoy and say, man, I'm ready for this long playoff run, you're already booking a ticket to wherever the hell you're going on vacation. I don't want to say Cancun again. Too many Cancuns out there. Okay, so that's 3 right there. If the Golden State Warriors are healthy, if they got their entire squad, 7-game set, I'm taking the Warriors over the Lakers. There's 4 before I even kind of start giving things some thought. I would even put Houston in front of the Lakers. That's 5 right there. Before I even count any of these other teams, let me do this. I'll say the Clippers. You want to say it's a wash? Maybe both teams, it would be a really good series. I won't put Clippers in front of them. I won't put San Antonio or Dallas or any of these other teams in front of them, even though we know they're going to be better just based on getting some of their players back. But I think it's very, very fair to say, and I think I'm being fair, and I think it's a safe thing to say. And if people want to come in and disagree, that's fine. That's the whole point of the show. I think before we even walk into the offseason, you got 5 teams as is. And a lot of this is based on just what I saw in the playoffs. So, whatever the regular season told us about the Lakers, the playoffs tell you something different. Whatever the regular season might show the strengths and the weaknesses, and the regular season, oh my gosh, look where they are in the seeding, all that stuff, that's fine. But when you play in the playoffs and the postseason, that's when you really find out what kind of squad that you have. I'm working on getting Amin El-Hassan back on the show. I do want him to come back, and I want him to talk about why he thought what he thought 2 months before it actually happened. But he said the playoffs are going to be a completely different thing. Whatever they're doing in the regular season, this is before they locked up the number 3 seed. He said, come postseason, it's going to be completely different. You can't really count on what you did in the regular season. I think right out the gate, before I even go any further, Minnesota, Houston, OKC, Denver, and the Golden State Warriors. I would say those 5 teams, as we walk into the offseason, are already better than the Lakers. So what Rob Pelinka and, the front office has to do, they have to not only figure out a way to build around Luka, not only figure out what LeBron's future is going to be, not only figure out, do they keep a guy like Austin Reeves or not, figure out what the right pricing is for Dorian Finney-Smith and determining whether he's going to come back. Do you want to keep Rui Hachimura in your lineup? Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect, is there, still a lot of hope with him. And then you got to figure out how to get bigs, rebounding, and how JJ Redick is going to be a better coach as we go into next year. But I think before we even get anything started, they're 6th in the Western Conference. That's where I would put them. That's how far I think, watching them in the playoffs and watching them in the postseason, and then watching OKC and Denver and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and watching Houston go 7 against Golden State, watching the Warriors without Steph Curry. I mean, obviously we all know how great Steph Curry is, and he's showing how great he is, because the moment he came out of this, postseason, obviously everything changed for the Golden State Warriors. That's how much work the Lakers have. That's how much work is going to be on the shoulders of the front office. That's how much the Lakers got to figure out a way to get back into the mix. And I really believe that that's how far back that they are. That doesn't mean they can't make a lot of changes in the offseason. That doesn't mean that Luka won't be better next year because he gets a full offseason with the Lakers. That doesn't mean JJ won't learn a lot from his coaching. That doesn't mean that a couple small tweaks can really kind of change what this team looks like based on just getting more size and getting more rebounding and getting better wings and whatever the case is. It doesn't mean it can't change. All I'm saying is, as we look and we sit here today, that's where I feel like the Lakers are in the Western Conference. All right, let's take a look at everybody's comments here. All right, Lakers need to trade AR for the rookie of the year. I think they're going to hold on to that player, and I'm talking about the San Antonio Spurs, and they're going to go big game hunting. They're going to go big game hunting. Trust me on that one. There is just something about when you think of where the San Antonio Spurs are today and they got the number 2 pick in the draft. They're going to save their assets and they're going to go big game hunting. We'll see. I'm going to come back to Giannis here in a second and what they end up doing here. Let's see. Let's get another one here. Lakers lottery team next year. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, my hope was, as I said, Lakers are probably 6th in the Western Conference. I thought people are going to come in here and, basically say that, hey, Al, no, everything's okay. They're third, they're fourth, they're this. I didn't think people are going to say they're a lottery team. I don't think they're a lottery team. I really don't think that. That doesn't mean that they don't have a lot of work to do. Here's the worst part about the Western Conference. I'll tell you the worst part about the West. The worst part about the Western Conference is it's only getting better. It's only getting better. The East is actually the conference where the East is going to be very interesting because there's going to be a lot of teams that think they're, you think Orlando, you think Indiana, you think Detroit, kind of some teams that are up and coming. Milwaukee, I don't know if this changes their opinion about Giannis. The Knicks, there's going to be teams out there saying, hey, we'd be top 4 in the East. Now, I don't know what it's really going to mean for you if you're taking on a good Western Conference team. All right, let me look at a couple more here. Lakers are 6th best in the West right now. I agree with this. 6th best. Matt Brown, 5th or 6th in the West. If Lakers get good players around them, I see a top 5, top 4 seed in the West, accounting for West improving, and maybe some injuries. Here's what happens in the NBA every single year. I'll give you a good example for this past season. Every year you walk in and you say, oh my God, all these teams are going to be good. And then 2 teams aren't good. That's just how it works. Okay, let me give you the 2 teams this year. This year you thought the Pelicans had a squad on paper. They traded for DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson, Herb Jones. Who am I missing here? B.I. when he was there. They had a squad on paper. And then you know what happened? They got some injuries. The season was over. The Phoenix Suns had a squad on paper. All right, put the pieces together. Does it mix well? It doesn't mix well. Take the Phoenix Suns out. That's always going to happen. You're always going to have probably 2 teams that you walk in and you're saying, oh my God, the West is 10 deep. And then it's not. It's about 6 or 8 deep at the most. But, this year you got 2 teams already that are not even in the playoffs that everybody thinks, watch out, the Mavs should be able to make some noise this upcoming year. When I say noise, listen, they're going to need Kyrie Irving to come back. Yes, they get Cooper Flag. Well, he's just a rookie. But if they stay in the mix and they stay around, maybe they do trade Gafford and they get another guard. And now all of a sudden they could sustain what they have up until Kyrie comes back. And then that's a good team. The San Antonio Spurs, you go trade for Giannis. I obviously don't need to tell anybody here what they could be. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Okay, we're going to get into Bron here. Don't worry about Bron. We're going to get into Bron here. I'm going to play that clip from Nick Wright here in just a second. Just want to see if we got any more here of kind of Lakers in the Western Conference and where they are. Lakers are 8th in my opinion. Lakers are a center and a 2-way wing away from championship contenders. Yeah, the problem with the Lakers is just the ingredients that they have was never going to be enough. It wasn't going to be enough. And were they able to get away with it in the regular season? Sure. But the moment they got into the postseason, they were exposed. So I do agree they got specific needs that they have. That could be one of the positive things, I think, for the Lakers. One of the positive things for the Lakers could just simply be that exactly what they need and what they have is not enough. And now they could figure it out from there. So I think there's something that that comes with that. Let me get one more here, and then I want to play that clip. I want to play that clip that I'm talking about with Nick Wright, and we'll talk a little bit LeBron. With Mavs and Spurs getting top 2 picks, the West only gets deeper, which pushes the Lakers lower by default. Yeah, I'm sure Rob Pelinka and the rest of the crew, they weren't too excited when they saw, so Washington doesn't have the number 1 pick. Charlotte doesn't have the number 2 pick. Even Utah, if you want to say Utah's in the top 3, they just wanted to see bum squads get these top picks. What they didn't want to see happen is, are you kidding me? The Western Conference, and it's Dallas and it's San Antonio getting the top 2 picks. I'm sure most of the Western Conference wasn't too excited about that. All right, thank you very much for watching the clip. Just want to give a shout out here to one of our partners, the Wallace Firm. They are official injury attorney of the Sliwa Show and Hoops Talk, the entire channel. If you are ever in a need, and I hope you're not, but some type of serious injury with yourself or a family member of yours, I would like to personally help you by introducing you to the best in the business, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Also got a URL out here that you can use as well. Just go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you for their partnership, and thank you for being a part of the Sliwa Show.